Okay, so here we are with part two in section 7.2, and we'll be talking about the len function, which is short for length. But really quickly, we've been talking about indexes and indexing, and if you get this an index error, sometimes you get this exception if you use an invalid index. Like for example, if you are using, you've got a list that has four places, four index values 0 through 3, and you're storing four elements in there, and you refer to an index like of the value 7, for example, it's going to it's going to throw this exception and give you that error. So anyway, so be careful of that. You'll see it pop up. Not really that big a deal. You'll know probably as soon as you see that error. Kind of what's going on when you see the code. So anyway, but I just want to mention it really quickly. You have to be careful of that. Now let's talk about the len function. So the len function is awesome. I'm just going to say that. It is. Because what it does is it allows you to use a built-in function, the length function or len function, to return the length of a sequence, basically a list. So we can use this nice little len function here to figure out the size of a particular list, and it will tell you how many uh, elements are being stored in there. So how many, what the index value is. It's how many elements are being stored in there. All right, so here we go. And in fact, let me just step over to the code because I think it's easier to see when you actually see the code. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. In this len function, we've got my list. We've got these values stored. And then we're going to print, and we're going to print the length of my list. Okay, so this goes with this piece here, and you get to see the value that comes out of there is a 4. And then we'll walk through printing this out using this as my upper value for the while loop. And again, I put this in red and highlighted it because there's no reason not to use this every single time. So len, and then here's your function, my list, or whatever your particular list name might be, and I'll walk through and do this stuff. So let's take a look at this code. And here we are with the same code. I'm going to hit visualize, and then as you step through here, you'll notice the very first thing it's going to do is create this nice little list. And for this particular one, we have 0 through 4. 5 elements we're storing, 10 through 50. And then we're going to print the value here, and it's going to say next, and there's 5. Okay, I think on this PowerPoint side 4. Doesn't matter, okay, because I can change these, and it will just change this value here, and it will actively change it however you're using it here. So if I hit index equals 0 here, I'm hitting next again. Here we go. While index is less than the length of my list, which is 5, it will go down through here, and each time this executes, it will go through until it gets down to 50, where it's reached the upper limit, and that is it. Okay? So it's a really, really useful thing to be able to play with. So like, for example, let's say I added in another one in here, I don't know, whatever, 75. I guess that looks kind of terrible. Anyway, and I was to run in here and do this, I can still do the same thing as created it. There's 75 over there. The length of my list is now 6. This is actively used down here, so it will walk through and do each one of these. I'm just running through fast, and you'll see that it's done. So you don't ever have to change the code here. So if you'd put up here, if you'd put 5 and you had to add another one in there, you'd have to change this to 6, and you have to change it down here. So anyway, so this is a very useful function that's built in for us. And going back over to the PowerPoint here, one of the things that you'll see, and we've been doing this kind of along the way, and you saw it in the first video from this section, but lists are mutable, meaning they can be changed. And so our values can be changed. So anytime we want to have something that's, maybe we want to change one particular value in a list. So list 1 equals the value, so we can do something like this. List 1 equals 78. And it will change it for us. So I'll show you that here. There's some other code on the next slide. Go to this little link right here. Come in here, and we've got a few different things. So let me just go ahead and hit run real quick. We'll hit execute. And the first thing it's going to do is show my list. So there we go with the first one, and you can see how it works there. Ooh, excuse me. And then I'm going to hit next, and it's going to print my list. There we go. 10, 20, 30, 40. Looks nice, right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, wait a second. I want to change the second index value in my list to this value, to 9999. Okay, so when I hit next, boom, it changes it. Okay. Now when I go to print, look at that. It printed in there. Their second index value was changed to 9999. Now this next one, we have my second list equals, and remember we did this to create a new list, where we took and put the value 0 in here and said I need 4 of them, and then we'll print it so you can see it. So remember the user's only seeing what's in here. So if I hit next, we see behind the scenes it's created this list called my second list, and I hit next, and there it prints the value. Okay. Now, by using the len function here with my list, I can go, and when I click next, you'll see it's going to walk through here, sets index equal to 0. Now it's going to walk through this particular piece. It's going to say my list using the index value going through the loop. I want this to equal 789. And then it's going to keep looping through the whole length of the list. So this is going to throw in, I don't know why 789, but that's what we did. You'll notice this is changing over here. Each one of these will change to 789 as I step through the loop until we get to the last number. That loop is over, and it's like, oh, now what? Well, let's go ahead and print my list. And so you see the show up here. 789 values are all right there. Or I'm sorry, uh, my list right here that I changed. Okay, so that changed all of those in there. And you go, why would you do that? I don't know, but you can do it. So you'll see there are different ways that you use this stuff, and as you're playing with the programming assignments for this week, you get to see some of that along the way. All right, so the rest of section 7.2 is about concatenating lists. So you won't have any problems that have to do with it, but if you're curious, I put a couple of examples in here, links that you can check out. And then 7.3 is all about list slicing. We are not doing any programs that will require you to list slice, but if you're curious about that, how it works, our author does have a video here that talks about that, and he shows you how it works. And then here is a link to an example. All right, so hopefully you're getting the hang of this. That's the end of section 7.2. So lots to cover in that section. It's a huge section.